Start recording. Alright, so I wanted to talk about camera tracking today. You guys have seen many of my stupid little HDR spheres and panoramas that I've done. And I never actually do anything in 3D with them other than check the light. And so I've been wanting to start doing more where I actually use them for an art project. And hence getting into motion tracking. So I'm not an expert on this yet, but I have been having a lot of fun with it. In Blender, it has a whole layout that you can use in the motion tracking panel. And I don't know, if you need something to play with, you can always go to archive.org. And there's all sorts of video files on here. Or you can just shoot something on your cell phone. You sort of learn by doing how you should be shooting your film and what you need. And I shot something just this morning, and let's see if it worked. So here's some example videos I shot. Let's try this one. So this is a really quick video clip, right? Now this purple line is, I think, the RAM, and you can see it's starting to lose RAM as you go. So the first thing I think you want to do is make sure your computer is just giving you all the resources you want to look at this, because it goes a little slow otherwise. So go into your user preferences if you're ever doing this, and just type in 9999999. Is that a bad idea?
Yeah.
It eventually just bottoms out.
Give it like a gigabyte to spare.
Alright, we'll go with 10,000. And so the other thing you can do is, next you are going to want to load all this video into the computer's temporary brain so it's smarter by hitting prefetch.
Oh, there's now a button for that.
Yeah.
And ages going back and forth.
Yeah. So now, in theory, it's going to be able to track this a little faster and run this. So that's pretty good. So I'm envisioning, just because it's what I'm going to be forcing my class to do more and more, I'm envisioning eventually running a bullet physics simulation here where, I don't know, there's cubes or something, and then a ball comes over and smashes them. And I probably won't get through that whole thing today, but we can at least get some starting stuff set up. So the next thing we need to do is start setting track points. Before I go any further, I would like to recommend on blender.org, if you go to their educational resources, you should look up Track Match Blend, which is by Sebastian Koenig. He's a really cool guy, and I think they're maybe doing a new one soon. Are they doing a new one soon?
What?
Yeah, they're doing.
Are you sure he hasn't updated it?
Dude, if I bought it a long time ago, can I get an update?
I don't know.
Well, if he has updated it, it's like.
But this is really good, and also you can also join Blender Cloud, and that gives you access to all the tutorial training material for a monthly fee, and then you can sign up for 1 month and jam as much of it into your brain as possible.
It's only 99 a year, so it's not really expensive.
Yeah. So I have this footage, and the first thing we're going to start doing is tracking points. And this first frame is a little blurry, so I usually go to a point where it's not, whatever. So we can just hit add, but the nice thing about this is, like a lot of things in Blender, they've tried to force the layout or the UI to feel like other chunks of layout. And so in the same way that over here, if we were in edit mode, we could say control click to add verts. So I'm using control click, and you can see this with my handy tooltip down here. Keycast OW, by the way. So I can add points in here in the same way. And just like how over here I can hit G to grab or S to scale, the same is true for my tracking points. So I can hit S to scale, and I can hit G to grab, and you have this little track preview over here, and it gets even better results. So I can go like that. Now the next thing we do is you can orient this. So usually I try and have it oriented where it's something like a right angle. And a lot of this is sort of voodoo, and you have to do it, figure out why it worked or didn't, and sort of build an internal monologue, muscle memory for what points work and what points don't. So the next thing we need to do is start tracking this point. And I think you can hit Control-T, or you can go down here and hit this play button for track. Or you can hover and see what the tooltip is. And it says Control-T. So I will hit Control-T to track. And now it's going to go through that. And in theory, it tracked it for a little bit. And you notice that at some point it stops, right? So with Alt middle mouse wheel I can scrub, and we can find the point where it stops working. And it looks like it's just getting confused by like a tree shadow or a bird flying in. Hey. So what you can do is go to the one point where it dies, and you'll notice it's disabled now. And if I just move this point around, it'll re-enable and start tracking from this again. So I'll hit G and grab it and say, this is the point I want. And now track forward again. So Control-T.
I don't think you actually have to move it to enable it. It's somewhere in the enable checkbox.
The what?
You don't actually have to move it to re-enable it if you want.
Yeah, you can.
Something in there.
Yeah, there's other ways you can do this. I think L. No. L is just an interesting hotkey because you'll notice that if I hit L, if I hit L with this track point selected, it's now going to have that stay in the center and instead move our footage around. But anyways, this is my laziest way so far that I've found of doing this, which is just whenever it dies on a track, I reset it and start over. So it's going pretty good. Sometimes you might actually have this start to track badly. So something like here, it's not on that exact corner. So what I might do is go to the point where it switches over. So we had blurry footage, and kind of around here it starts getting lost. So once it's crisp again, I'm actually going to delete all of that tracking data that I have. So you'll notice it's got blue and red. And I think blue is what's in front of it, and red is what's coming up next in terms of where this frame is going. So I'm going to clear all the frames coming up after here, and instead set this to around here, so that it's more directly on that corner. And I'll track it again. And over here we get a death. So actually, is that when the footage ends? Yeah, that's when the footage ends. So we got it!
You might want to cut the video.
Yeah, let's just have that end there. So now, you can see, here's the whole thing. I'll take L off so you can see that. Pretty cool, right? So this is something where if you wanted, you could export this as a single point and now have like a particle emitter. That's like chapter 1 in Track Match Blend. It's fun because like I haven't watched that in a long time, and going through it, it's fun to see, like it's fun to re-experience this after going so long without doing it. So if you wanted to, you could then start solving for one point, which I think you can go reconstruction, link and empty to track. I'm going to save this at this point to the desktop as seabug. Last, new, final, ASDF, 001, last. Greatest joke ever. And instead, now I will say reconstruction, link empty to track. And you'll notice down here in our 3D viewport, our camera now has what the heck? Our track now has this little 3D thing. So I don't know why this isn't letting me switch to object mode.
What are you trying to do?
switch to object mode. It's still got me in edit mode. There we go. Alright. So if I wanted, I could. This is what Sebastian does in the video. He just sticks like he sticks a cube on here. Select it to cursor, scale it down, and then starts emitting particles from it. Particles, new. Gravity or field weights. Gravity 0.
Or -1.
Emitter. There. Lifetime. 5. So now, if I look at this one, well, I gotta link it to the camera. Cursor selected. Selected to cursor. Parent. To the object. So now you could say like, oh, it's going like that. And then you could have like, you know, your glowing wizard hand. So that's a 1-point track, and it's nice and easy, right? Let's go back to the motion tracking. So let's add another marker, and what we need is a certain quantity of these so that we can start creating a 3D scene out of it. And I'm going to reopen it before I added all that stupid particle stuff. And now let's track another point. So this is one of those things where you start shooting your film differently once you get used to this stuff. For instance, you might add, you know, little, like, you might throw a coin on the ground so that you have something that you can track. Or, you know, you might paint your coins neon orange. I will track over here. Let's get that point. Nope, let's not add it there. I like starting from the beginning. You don't have to. And you can actually, instead of tracking forward, you can track backwards. But I tend to prefer doing it like this.
You can track forward, then backward. Nice.
Whoa. So this is like clearly off because I had like a crazy amount of motion blur right around.
I'll try the order track feature. I tend to find it's better at points than I do.
Yeah? Up here. Or detect features?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's try it. Detect features is good, but sometimes like it can only like sometimes your feet like your it'll tell you if you shot this stupid. Let's try detect features.
Try and less blurred frame. Less blurred frame.
Oh yeah, maybe change this to there's also tracking presets, and you can say like fast motion, which I don't know if this is fast, but so let's get a nice clean one and say detect features. So it's saying like this shadow over here, and some of these are good, like this one I would say is really good.
The problem with it is it doesn't know the, it only sees the frame, it doesn't see any other frame.
Yeah. So then basically the solution from there is to track it. And like, I don't know if there's a way to hide these. Oh good, there is. So what I do like besides that is just track, or like cleaning these up one by one, because otherwise there's like too many on screen. So I might select all these and hide them. And actually this one, because we like this one, let's lock it with Control L. Or you can also do that by clicking this little button here, or over here you can see it's just the same as doing this. You can even hover and get the tooltip. No, you can't. Anyways, it's Control L. And so that means that if we ever say like, oh, solve everything, it won't resolve that one. It'll say like, we trust that one. So let's try solving this one, and let's track backwards first. It immediately failed, as you can see. So
Considering how shaky the code is, maybe try using their planar tracking thingy and doing a large area?
What?
They have somewhere in the track options, there's this thingy that lets you make a track that tracks the surfaces,
Oh, like.
vegetation and stuff.
Oh,
Some, which you can use as sort of like a large surface.
I don't know how to do that yet. I'm too dumb for that.
Well, I think that was added after you made track match. So
Yeah.
let people know about it.
All right. So that's looking pretty good going forward. And then this was our last one there. So let's track forward now. And that one died really fast. Forward. And it's interesting, like, you know, you would think like this is a good place to track, but it might not be. The reason is, like, although if you look at this track thumbnail, it's got really strong contrast. We can see like this, you know, white corner of the shadow. The problem is it's also got these columns right next to it, and they're sort of overlapping every once in a while. And so it's trying to find that, and that sort of you know, Y depth is going to mess it up. Z depth. Yeah, that went terrible really fast. And actually, like, part of the problem is that around this point, we stop being able to see that. So I'm just going to clear everything after this. Oops. Never mind. Let's pick a different point. Let's do this one. I want this one to actually be like on the shadow, because I like that better. Charcoal. So right around there, fail. So it's clear in front. I'm just going to manually place it throughout this like really blurred step. And this is one of those amateur things that I'm still doing, which is, I think it is largely considered the proper way to do things is to film with as little camera shake as possible, and then add the camera shake afterwards if you want it to feel organic, rather than shoot just like handheld footage.
Proper way is not to have camera shake.
Yeah. What?
Camera shake is definitively awful. I've never seen a single movie improved by camera shake.
Well, but like if you're going for like an authentic look, you know.
Like if you use it sparingly.
It looks like that.
What about like family videos and stuff?
It looks faked.
Alright. No votes in favor of camera shaking?
I think it can be used well, but what really bothers me is like what they've done in Star Trek and
Yeah.
Man of Steel and all these ones where they're like out in space and then they want it to look like a camera shake. It's like the point of camera shake is to make it look like somebody shot it with a camera.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of this outer space sci-fi scene trying to forget that somebody shot this.
Yeah.
also
I think of this as technology-driven directing, which is a lot of times I think
And if you're hit by
3D artists like figure out a new technology, and therefore they direct films around the idea that they want to have that in there. So like my favorite example is Avatar, where they did all these crazy cool face rigs, and it was this really exciting new technology. And I think the movie gets worsened because they direct all the shots to highlight the technology rather than to like make a good film. So there's like incredibly tedious, a huge amount of shoulder shots just where they're like, all right, look at this face, see how real it is, and you know.
Yeah, Yeah, that's not exclusive to filmmaking either. Like when Nintendo released the DS, all the games just forgot that there were even buttons on the thing. It's just all touchscreen
I
controls.
did like a lot of games that came out of that though. Well, there were interesting games.
It took a little while for it to like even out and make good games that look good again. They gave up on making it good. They was like, oh, let's just make you touch the screen.
Like the retro puzzle games are amazing on the DS because of all the features it has. One of them.
I must
actually
go, my
made
people
you
need me.
Like reflect one of the screens into the other screen.
Oh, crazy. Thanks.
So that was
Clear.
trace memory.
Yeah, I played that one actually. I remember.
Do you play Hotel Dusk?
Is that a new DS game?
No, that was
I haven't. I've got the show, obviously. DS.
Alright, so I got this one clean now. Whee! Pretty cool. Oh, somewhere around here there's some problems. Again, I don't know. I'm not advanced enough at this to know if it's wrong to be doing this much of it manually or not. Generally, my experience with anything that's sort of simulation based like this is the more you're doing it manually, the worse it's going to be.
Can I give my fancy planner tracking thing a shot? I'm curious to believe.
Yeah, do you know where it is?
Let me see.
No, come up
It's been years since I've used this.
I know. I'm just enjoying getting back into this.
Features.
Is it like you have to select multiples?
Well, let's see. If we make a new, let's just make a new track somewhere. Let's see.
Something like
Let's
around,
find a
maybe.
reasonable frame. Yeah. Sure. Let's find an area here, and then somewhere in here, in the tracker settings, somewhere.
I think you have to.
Somewhere.
You have to like generate a ground plane first. Or I think you might have to have like 3.
No, it's just something to do with the type of track, but I can't find the option. Because
Everybody start googling this.
track settings. Aha. Perspective. There we go. Now. should
Oh,
I-
so you set that to 4 corners of like the
yeah.
flat ground. Ah.
This may or may not work. Let's see what happens. Oh, right there.
Oh, you're on frame last.
Go backwards.
You're on the last frame.
Oh, come on.
You're gonna be able to track backwards.
Did it just give up on me?
Yeah. Okay, let me see this.
Well, mess around on that track settings thing. There's some.
Here, let's try to start.
It says match previous frame, which could be the issue.
Cause I bet like if we did something that's really obvious, like
Still, I thought the leaf pattern was still gonna
right.
work.
So I have to set this to. Where'd you set it?
Oh, I see what it means by match previous frame.
So something like this. That's really in perspective.
Well, it's tracking the pattern inside the box, so that's not actually.
Oh, so it wants something.
It wants patterns. Maybe something in the leaves over there.
Ah. Huh. We did this trash can. I don't know.
The footage is blurry.
Yeah. Yeah, this was shot like 10 minutes ago.
You gonna shoot a new one? Just drink the starter.
Maybe.
You just shoot all of us and like have us reacting to a thing that isn't there, and then put it in. Be great.
I'm gonna track this corner of the garbage can. Let's clear it that way. So I think the magic number you're going for here is 8. You need like 8 good.
You also don't want them all to be on the floor.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing the floor.
What?
Unless you're using the quad thing.
Well, you want, no, that probably wouldn't actually, because the quad thing is just a method of tracking, it only uses a point data.
No, I'm saying nothing. No, there's a render node that's just like replace quad, so like you can change the poster with just one.
Oh, yeah, they're trying to evoke a
Track backward. Clear forward. Track forward. Track backward. But the general idea is coming across, right? You start with sort of live action footage. And you're just trying to find points of contrast. Eventually, they'll work. Clear above. Oh, shit. Where did it go? So I keep tracking this little triangle here. And hey, that's pretty good throughout. It's not perfect, but that's okay. And you can start seeing up here, like, if you ever have something that's like way, way up here, that's a track you should probably delete. These are pretty clean. Uh-oh. Why isn't it updated? But, save it. Just that. Instead of finance left, final. Let's quit Blender and reopen it. The solution to everything. There we are. So now it's playing again. Yeah, let's just try doing more auto detect. I'm too lazy for this stuff. I'm also gonna end this animation around here. That's enough. Get us what we need. So let's
Can you try
detect.
tracking the corners of those shadows there?
Huh?
The corners of those, that shadow coming from the elevator shaft, it sort of makes it.
Yeah, that's probably a good one.
Both of those.
Again, that's one where you can just increase the search area. And I think Alt S tells you how far it's looking. This is the search. So this is like the track point. This is like the track point. This is like the anchor for its rotation. This is like the pattern area. So this is the area where it's trying to see something different. And this, which you can get with Alt S, is the search area. So it's only going to look yay far. So if you have more camera shake, you might need a bigger search area. And, you know, it's slower and it's going to be less accurate the more camera shake you have. Let's try that one. It's always very satisfying when you hit play and like you get a perfect one without doing anything. Hey, look at that. Nice and easy. Let's try that one. Alright. This also probably is suffering a little bit due to my lens choice. So this is like a lens from like the 90s that I got at Goodwill for 20 bucks. I bought a used camera, threw the body away, kept the lens.
So you're shooting with a higher shutter speed.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it
And I shot like, if you guys, you know, I did shoot like 5 versions of this. You know, some of them are going to be less shaky than others.
What's wrong with you?
So I think that's the one we're using. Yeah. And one thing you have to be careful of is you can track shadows, you can track patterns. You don't want to track really strong reflections because reflections are going to change based on the point of view of the viewer. So, I have a mirror ball here. See if I can get it. So, I don't know. So this mirror ball, just to chat about physics with that. Let's make my webcam really big. So this mirror ball. So it's got this big bright white reflection here, which is the sun, right? And that's going to be in a different place depending on where you're looking at it and where this mirror ball is. So as a result, you can't think of it as like a good place in time to track. So like if I have a really strong highlight here from my cell phone, if we like move to the, imagine I'm moving the webcam around, but if this is like rotated around to be like this, that's now, that highlight is now going to be on the front versus on the side. So don't track highlights. They don't work the same way in the physically permanent spot as a shadow or a pattern would. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
Sure.
Because highlights are dependent on where you're standing versus shadows are always in the same place.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, it's where you're standing and where, like the angle of where you're standing.
let's see if I can get some whiteboarding.
Whiteboard.
Yeah. Like, essentially, to describe this in terms of drawing, I like talking about it in drawing terms. Imagine you're figuring out how a shadow works, and here is your object on the ground. And you can think of shadows being like snow falling, and here's your light, it's the snow falling. And just like a roof of a house, there's areas where it's going to land. So here's the snow buildup. Areas where it starts to pass over. And then also there's areas that are going to be protected, like over here where your deck isn't going to get snow on it because it's covered by a roof. So this ends up happening in a shadow in the form of something like a terminator, which is going to be perpendicular to that, or parallel to those light rays. And then that's going to determine where this snow lands on the ground, proverbially, or doesn't land on the ground. So if shadow is snow, the shadow snow is like there and right here. Now, light reflections are different, because yeah, there's all that area up there, but light actually works a lot more like playing pool or playing billiards. So if here's the corner pocket or the side pocket, and here's a ball and here's your cue ball. Let's say you have a ball way over here that you also want to hit. You could, in theory, do a glancing blow with your cue ball and it'll hit this, and it would still continue going forward, right? Whereas you could also go like this and it would reflect back this way. So, in other words, imagine you're the viewer here and this is your light source. If your light source is here or here, you're always going to be able to see it in a reflection, because even when it's this far and it's like practically occluded here, this light ray is going to go bounce right into your eyeball. And I don't know. I love this stuff. It's super cool to me. So that's why you don't track reflections. They don't work the same way as shadows. It's more of a bouncy around kind of thing. There's going to be so many comments about how I explained that wrong. Alright. Okay, back to Blender. Crap. I think I just deleted that scene. No, I lost my track setting. Alright, I'm going to start over. Alright, so some of these tracks were working really good. Go like there. Go like there. Set the end around there. See, and you can see how if I scale this up, it's going to be able to find that right angle pattern a little better. So those ones worked right out of the box. Oh yeah, I'm going to prefetch that footage. That window here? Let's do this like window corner. Maybe. Somewhere around here it stops working. There we are. So we'll clear forward, move this back over here, rotate it, get that, track forward, and it messes up again. Clear forward. It's possible you don't need to clear forward. It might just automatically do it. Control T to track. And that is a successful track. Alright, so we have, I think, 8 successful track points, which means we can try to reconstruct now. let's save this. And this is where it might just all blow up in my face, so please bear with me. I'm hoping it doesn't. So now I think what we can do is start reconstructing this. So we go to the solve panel, and this is going to have, instead of tracking this stuff, it's going to be figure out all that stuff that we played with. One thing that you might want to do is you'll notice it's going to use this keyframe A and keyframe B, and what you'll want to do is try and find an area where there's a lot of consistency. So like from here to here is good. So right here where it's jumping around a little bit, that's not going to be our best option. So I'm going to say like from frame 42 to 50. How about that? And I think you can track even just like one frame. Does this sound right?
Sorry, what?
Does this sound about right?
What sounds what is it?
Like keyframe A and B, setting it to like an area that has less distortion in
Yeah.
the curves.
Yeah, and
Alright.
hopefully one where none of your tracks drop off.
Yeah.
You track them all to the end.
So after hitting solve camera,
Hopefully on move.
I don't know if that worked or not, but now we can start moving this over. So what we can do is we can hit this button, which is set up tracking scene. I'm going to delete this stupid cube that I made. So if I hit set up tracking scene, let's look at this 3D view. You'll notice that we have, it's jumping around a little bit, but this plane kind of feels correct. Maybe not totally.
It's tracked well enough just to get hundreds and hundreds of YouTube comments complaining about your tracking.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, yeah, you can see there's definitely some sliding right around here.
I know what you guys are talking about, it's perfect.
What are you guys talking about? YouTube commenters are really great people. That's not true. So anyways, if you try and solve camera motion, I think it requires 8 points, and otherwise it'll tell you, you don't have 8 points. Stop it. The other thing we can do now is try and solve for the floor. I'm actually going to add one more point, maybe right here. And let's track this one as well. So I'll go back to the track. Again, a lot of this is voodoo to me, but in theory, I want to aim for 3 points that would generate like a flat triangle on the ground. Does that make sense? That one worked really well right off the bat. I'll actually resolve with all these now. That might change it a little bit.
It's probably not gonna
Yeah, that solve fixed it a little
Where's
bit.
your solve arrow?
I don't know.
Somewhere.
Yeah, it's supposed to tell me solve error, but I don't remember. You can see it definitely said, did not construct perfectly.
I think it tells you underneath the timeline. Let's see from here. If you, wait,
Oh, solve error 5.7. So that's a really bad solve error. Like you generally want under 1, but whatever. We're doing a live demo. So if we have that point, now I think I can create a ground plane using these 3, and that's going to help a lot. So if I say under solve, let's solve for a floor.
That actually looks pretty well tracked.
And that actually fixes it a lot. So having it understand what a floor is really helpful. And the next thing we can do is actually try and have some sense of scale. So if I select these 2 points, I think these 2 points are going to be my best option. Well, actually, let's talk about perspective here. I'm going to use these 2 points, and let me explain why. Because for the most part, I'm filming flat. This is going to be perspective theory, so I'm going to open up Photoshop. Okay, ready for some linear perspective knowledge? Sure you are. Alright, let's say you have a horizon. what is the point that's in the central part of that horizon? Zuri.
The principal vanishing point.
That is correct. Zuri's having to learn this in my drawing class right now. So the principal vanishing point is what you would use for exact 1 point perspective. And it's 1 point perspective because the ray of your eye line, or the view line, is directly perpendicular to this horizon. So what's cool is any line that would also be parallel to that line is going to converge at this point. So if you go like that, hey look, an instant road. Bad click. And you can add any number of lines and they'll feel correct because you're in 1 point perspective. Now, what else do we know about the viewer? Well, what's cool about it is if your eye is parallel, or if your eye ray is parallel to the ground, anything that is the same height as you will therefore intersect that line. So if I have a little happy person here, and their head is right here,
What's the person's name?
this is Joey. So if this person's head is going through the horizon, how tall are they?
All of them.
They are exactly the same height as the viewer. Let's say you see a person like this. In other words, halfway to the horizon. How tall is this person?
Half your height.
Half your height. That could mean they're 3 feet tall, they're a child or something, but it also could mean that you, the viewer, are 6 foot tall, standing on a 6 foot tall thing. So like you're on a cliff or something. So if I have a person here that is 6 feet tall and going through there, and I have this tree that is 4 times as tall as them, how tall is this tree? This tree is 24 feet. 6 times 4 is 24. So the eye line, anything that's going through the horizon, is going to be the same height as the viewer. So if we are a viewer standing on a 6 foot ledge, anything going through here is going to be the same height as us. So if I draw a person here, like here's their feet, this person is 12 feet tall. But a person way back here, whose head is also going through there, is also 12 feet tall. So this gets into the benefits of linear perspective in that we can use it to figure out measurement. And that's what we're going to do now. So if I have these 2 points here, and this is about where my horizon is, and I filmed this and I was 6 feet tall, I think like, is grease pencil working? So from here to here, this is all drawing knowledge, not 3D knowledge, but hopefully it's helpful. So if a person was here, they're the same height as me, 6 feet tall, walking with this camera. So this is about, let's say I push this person over and they fell on the ground. So how long is that, would you say? Like from there to there, and then this is like 1 person, 2.5 maybe? So 2.5 times 6 is 15 feet. We're working in meters, so 15 feet into meters is 3-ish or 5-ish.
You can enter it in feet and it'll convert it to meters for you.
Yeah, whatever. Oh, you can just say 15 feet?
Yeah, there's 15.
What? Blunder's the best. So if I select these 2 points, let's try this. Woo, live distance.
You go 15 and then the foot symbol, which is a apostrophe, I guess.
Right. Would FT do it also?
For what?
It said, doesn't make sense.
Hang on.
You're making me look stupid. That guy needed any
Did
help.
you try FT or did you try the?
Let's try. Nah, it's not working.
I think you might have to switch it to metric first.
Oh, yes, you would want to do that.
Alright. Well, so we're using Blender units, and I generally think of a Blender unit as 1
If
meter.
you go into
Right?
scene and then just click metric,
Man, I'm so anti messing with
really it's up near the top, down.
metric. Metric? Alright. So now it would convert to feet.
Now, well, now we'll convert feet to metric.
So if I say 15 feet?
Try FT. Maybe that input's broken.
I love like,
It works.
I always love our crowdsourced. Let's all just yell up our ideas, solutions in seabug.
Brainstorm.
Whatever, let's just manually do the math. A yard, or a meter is about 3 feet, right? So 15 feet is about 5 meters. Let's just say 5. So let's say my distance from there to there is 5. So I select this point and this one, and if I say set scale, did it work? It looks like it worked. So now it's going to say that's like our scale. All right. I can also use these 2 points maybe, and let's try setting a y-axis. Oh,
Did you set the floor?
I think I did.
Somehow the ground plane looks tipped.
What's that error mean? Single track with bundle should be. Oh, so I only want one. I'll select this and say, hey, cool. So I selected 1 point, and it was one where it was kind of pointing this way, and I said set x-axis. Oh wait, I want that to be the y-axis, because we walk forward in y. So instead I will say set y-axis. Now look at that, this cube is now pointing directly along here. Wow! This demo actually almost kind of worked, guys.
Yay.
Alright, everyone feeling good about this stuff? Oh yeah, let's talk about one other thing, because we exported this to a camera, and I think we have to change our camera settings. This is where your interaction with the 3D realm intersects with your interaction in the real world realm. You have to maybe mark down some of this stuff as you're working, and if you know the kind of camera you're shooting with, you should just write down what you're using, and then when you come over to Blender, you type in the little numbers and gobbledygook. So, for instance, I was using this, which is a Canon 6D full frame. It has a really crappy, again, Goodwill lens. I think it's like 52 millimeters. And a lot of times there's a way to auto-detect this, I think.
There's a camera preset, that's what you use.
Yeah. But under camera presets, I would say full frame 35 millimeter camera.
I don't think that is correct. The full frame can be multiple things. Try and look for Canon full frame, because it's 36 millimeters of
Canon HP. Which of these 3 Canons is it?
What is them?
APS-H, APS-C, and
If you see
C3H.
cropped,
Yeah. I know off the top
Alright.
of my head it's 36 millimeters across for the Canon
Yeah.
full frames. So if it matches that, then that's good. But
Yeah. And then like you can enter your lens data too. And to give a quick demo of this, again, like there's an even better version of this on Track Match Blend, but it's a really great explanation. So
I use the phrase even better.
even better.
Even better than this one.
Go watch a real tutorial, guys. What are you doing here? So here's your camera.
really?
Beautiful, right? And it has this lens, and what happens is it has a sensor back here, and it has a lens. So this lens has like a little thing here, and if you extended it like a zoom lens, maybe your lens is out here. So as you have like an object here, here's Joey again. I love mouse drawings, they're the best. So Joey, going from here to here, if I was to say it's zoomed out, it would be like that, and therefore kind of like that. And from here on the sensor, I go from here to there, where it goes through the lens data, and continuing outward. And this is the image that it would get. It would flip somewhere at this point. This is the nodal point where these rays cross, and then it would go onto this mirror. And I think actually the way the sensor works is it's actually a mirror. It goes upward and then up here it gets through your viewfinder and stuff like that. Or rather, I think there's a mirror here while you're looking through the shutter, and then when you hit the shutter button, this mirror lifts and it goes into the actual sensor. Make sense? So if I was to use this, meaning this lens is closer to here, instead it would go like that. And all of a sudden you can see that this is a wider angle lens. So now your nodal point is here. So like on a fisheye lens, where it's really close, but also it's it's a series of lenses to eventually get these rays to go like from there to here, from there to here, from there to here. From here it hits there and goes inward. So it's using multiple lenses to like stick these eventually in together. And then you have like, this is your field of view. You would get like 360 degrees. Cool stuff, right? So what you have is two things. One is your sensor size, which is this. So this little sensor here is literally like 35 millimeters across. And then you also have this factor of your lens millimeter. So if this is 35 millimeters and this was, say, 135, kind of a standard zoom-ish lens, all of a sudden you could extrapolate this math and see where this goes in. This is very important because the tracking stuff uses these numbers to figure stuff out. So for instance, on my lens, it might have figured it out. I don't think it's accurate. But this lens is 35 to 80 millimeters, and I had it zoomed as far out as possible. So I can actually write 35 here.
And I believe if you resolve it after setting that, you might get a better result.
Yeah. So let's self camera motion. Yeah, it looks a little better. So now this is getting pretty good, right? Actually, did it say what my error was? It's still pretty terrible error, but
5 is not bad. It means it's off by 5 pixels at the most. Well,
yeah.
on average.
And again, like, I've got a lot of blur. Like, this was shot without, like, you know, one of the important things to know about this is you have to go out and shoot footage if you want to learn how to do this, because you have to, like, do experiments, have them blow up in your face, get home, just bury your face in your hands and realize, like, you've wasted your life. And then the next day you go out and do it again, and you apply what you've learned in these mistakes. Alright, so we're an hour in, and that's basically camera motion, right? So now, next up, let's take a little break, and when we get back, I will do a bullet physics simulation here in 3D, and we'll stick them together. Pew pew!